Hey, what's up, guys? I went live a little bit earlier today, and I had to go live again today because I sometimes I lay down for my naps, my afternoon naps, and during my naps I have these thoughts. And when I have a thought, I like to share it. I want other people to kind of hear what that thought is, so that you can kind of, maybe add to it or get something from it, because I think it's worth kind of talking about this. I can't help. I was sitting there and, I was thinking about this whole thing with Bill Cosby, right? And again, it's so funny that I'm even thinking about it this much because I'm not really a guy that would be considered a Bill Cosby fan. I'm not a person that thinks Bill Cosby is a great guy or, a wonderful dude. I never felt that way at all. But something really, just doesn't sit well with me about this conviction. Something about these whole shenanigans about his trial and everything else. It just really bothers me. And I, so I'm sitting there and I was looking, I was like, I wonder how he's doing. I wonder how he's adjusting. And so I was looking around at, different articles to see how he's doing in prison. And I'm just picturing this 81-year-old blind man in prison and just, what that must feel like. Now, again, that any sympathy for Cosby has to be balanced against sympathy for anybody that he allegedly victimized. I think that the problem that I've always had with this is not that I believe Cosby is innocent. I've never believed Cosby was innocent. I've always stated very clearly, and I repeat repetitively, that I believe Cosby was not guilty. And anybody who understands the law, I've been talking, I talk to lawyers all the time. And one of the things they bring up a lot is the fact that there's a difference between being not guilty and being innocent. A person that is not guilty is not a person who was found innocent. They are a person who was found to not be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I don't believe Cosby was found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, in order to do that, you have to have this little thing called evidence, and they're not using any of that. And I do believe that it's racial. I believe that it's racial. And so let me explain to you why, just sort of my unrelenting, what I believe to be undeniable proof that the whole Cosby case was racial. I want you to ask yourself this question. I asked this question on my Facebook page and on Instagram, and nobody was able to answer this question satisfactorily to my knowledge. Maybe there are answers that I haven't seen yet, but to my knowledge, nobody's been able to satisfactorily answer this question. I want to ask you this. How many prominent white celebrities can you think of? How many? I want you to, right? Everybody pay attention now. Ask yourself, can you name one, just one prominent white celebrity as prominent as Bill Cosby, as famous as Bill Cosby, as rich as Bill Cosby, who has been sent to prison at any point in the last 15 to 20 years? Can you name any prominent celebrity as well known as Bill Cosby who has been sent to prison in the last 20 years? Now, I'm gonna look down here and I'm looking at this, the responses on Facebook. I see people they're listing Tim Allen, Robert Downey Jr., Phil Spector. I don't think that counts. Phil Spector was not a Cosby. If I ask y'all who's Phil Spector, they don't know who Phil Spector is. If I say, well, who's Jerry Sandusky, people might kind of know him, but he was an assistant coach at Penn State. That's not Bill Cosby's stature. Now somebody put Tim Allen. I didn't know Tim Allen went to jail. Did he get 3 to 10 years? Let me see. Let me type in Tim Allen prison. I didn't know Tim Allen even went to prison. Let's see. Tim Allen was arrested in 1978 for possession of cocaine. Okay, so that was that was not in the last 20 years. That was sorry, man. That was 40 years ago. So you got to dig a lot deeper than that. Now I heard somebody mention. Well, actually, I mentioned Martha Stewart. Right, Martha Stewart went to prison for insider trading, and they probably tacked on some other stuff, maybe tax evasion, stuff like that. And Martha Stewart's case is different because they had something they do not have in the Cosby case. They have something that was not in the Cosby case. What is that thing? Somebody give me the word. It's one word, starts with a G. Or sorry, not with a G, not with a G. It starts with an E. What is the word? Starts with an E. Evidence. Evidence. You cannot send a person to prison when you don't have evidence. Now, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe y'all think I'm out of my mind. Maybe I'm the only sane motherfucker on this earth that's left over on this damn planet. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person on the planet who still holds on to this idea of innocent till proven guilty. Maybe I'm the only person on this planet who actually even read even a fraction of the Constitution and all the other documents that tell us that we have certain rights, no matter what you're accused of. Maybe I'm the only person on earth who has ever even shown any interest, any remote interest in the fact that the justice system is not supposed to work that way. Maybe I'm the only person who went to school past the second grade. I don't know. They taught this stuff in elementary school, y'all, for real. And I know it because I made bad grades in school. I failed my civics class. I did not go to law school. I did not do well in history. I never learned much about jurisprudence or juris nothing. But I do know this, that you cannot send someone to prison. According to the law, you're not supposed to send them to prison without evidence. Now, Nia mentions three names. Now, I'm gonna mention these three names, and I want y'all to tell me if y'all know what are y'all, if y'all consider these people to be equivalent to Bill Cosby. Dennis Hastert, Rob Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois, and Anthony Weiner, who I think was a congressman or a senator or something or another. Now, I want you to tell me this. Are any of these individuals at the same level of a Bill Cosby? Anybody? No. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Omar. I appreciate you, man, for having some damn common sense. Not one person. And I asked this question. I was like, give me a name. Give me a name. Let me check my Instagram. Make sure I ain't missed nothing. I'm going to check my gram. My gram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So y'all know, because y'all know I keep it real. So if you want to follow me on the gram, go to The Real Boyce Watkins. That's where I'm at on the gram. The Real Boyce Watkins. I'm looking on the gram, and I could even share the page. I put this comment up and I said, can you name any prominent white celebrity or politician in recent history who was sent to prison like Bill Cosby? First person wrote O.J. Simpson. Now that's funny. Now, that would contradict my point because he did think he was white. OJ got his white boy pass and he thought he could keep it for life. No one I can think of. Phil Spector, again, don't count. Phil Spector, I don't even think, when did Phil Spector even go to prison? Wasn't that like in the early 90s or something? Let me see. When did Phil Spector go to prison? I'm going to Google that. When did Phil Spector go to prison? And how many of y'all even know who Phil Spector is? And how many of y'all would even know who he was if you hadn't watched the Tina Turner movie? If you hadn't watched the Tina Ike Turner movie, don't tell me you would even know who the hell Phil Spector is. Most of us, I didn't know who Phil Spector was. I didn't know who Phil Spector was until I watched the movie, I swear to God. Now, okay, so he was taken into custody in 2009, sentenced to 19 years to life in California prison. And I think he murdered somebody. I'm not sure. I think he killed somebody. Let me see, what did he go to prison for? He went to prison, murder conviction. So he got murdered. And he's not somebody that most of us really knew anything about. If you hadn't seen the Tina Turner movie, you probably didn't know who Phil Spector was. You probably still don't know who the hell he is. Let me see, I'm looking here. Most people I don't know. Robert Downey Jr. Somebody mentioned Robert Downey Jr. Now, Robert Downey Jr. has gone to prison, but I don't think he's gone to prison for as long as Bill Cosby, and he's certainly not of the status of a Bill Cosby. But let me see. Let me see here. How long? Google's great. Google will answer questions. How long did Robert Downey Jr. spend in prison? Okay. He received 3 years of probation. Probation. That ain't prison, y'all. That ain't prison, y'all. Probation spelled with an obation. Prison spelled with an isn't. Probation is not prison. He got 3 years of probation, and he probably did some horrible shit. Probably far worse than the Cosby. Let me see. He was sent to jail. They said short answer is drug abuse. In the early 90s, Downey was tipped for superstardom. He had even been nominated for an Oscar for his role in Chaplin. However, blah, 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 blah. He was using the drugs, blah, 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 blah. He was arrested in 96 for possession of heroin, cocaine, and an unloaded .357 caliber Magnum revolver. Now, what's present in this case besides the fact that he didn't go to prison, or if he did, he went there for a couple of weeks. Oh, he was arrested, and he was arrested again a couple of weeks later, and he was placed on probation. So despite the fact that he never went to prison, what else is missing from this case or what else is present in this case that is missing from the Bill Cosby case? Give me the word. Starts with E. Starts with E. Evidence. 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 Let's keep going. I want to ask you this. So basically the question has not been answered by anybody. Nobody can answer this question. Anybody who's running around saying, oh, well, the Cosby case has nothing to do with race because by golly, wrong is wrong. And if you do something wrong, then you should be paid for it. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But do you understand this? Do you understand that if they were locking everybody up, white and black, for simply breaking the law, do you know that there will be about 10 million white people in prison right now? Do you know that there will be about 10 million white people in prison right now? Do you know how many white folks on the Syracuse University campus, when I was going to that school, how many rich white kids were breaking the law every single weekend? And do you know how many of those kids were literally committing felonies on a regular basis? Do you know how often this happens all across the United States? Y'all hearing about Kavanaugh's little situation where he's at Yale and they have the frat parties and all that. Do you know how often white people break the law and get away with it? Now, I'm not trying to say that wrong ain't wrong. We agree on that. Wrong is wrong. I'm not even trying to say Cosby's a good person. But I'm trying to tell you that if you think that this case has nothing to do with race, you are about as dumb as a pack of bricks. There's nothing you cannot use. You have nothing to lean on in terms of arguing that this case was racially colorblind or that it was colorblind. It wasn't colorblind. Race was all over it. I want to ask you this. Did you know that Bill Clinton has received numerous rape allegations going back many, many years? Did you know that? Sexual assault, doing all kinds of stuff with women. He hung out with Bill Cosby a lot. Did you know that? Are they going to lock up Bill Clinton? Have they tried to lock him up? No, they haven't. Now, even in the Bill Clinton case, I would still stand by that point. If it was Bill Clinton, I'd say, yeah, they need evidence. Do they have evidence? Show me the evidence. In the Cosby case, I think what's so fascinating is that not only is there no evidence, but most of the alleged victims didn't even report the crime when it allegedly happened. That's what's interesting as well. They didn't even report the crime. So if you don't report a crime, then a lot of people would conclude that a crime was not committed. If I don't report a crime, then why would you assume there's a crime if I don't report a crime? And then I later on come back to you 30 years later and tell you, oh, there was a crime 30 years ago. Don't we? So what's the point in having a statute of limitations if you don't honor the statute of limitations? Why would you have a statute of limitations if you don't acknowledge a statute of limitations? Why not just say that there is no statute of limitations if you're not honoring the statute of limitations? I mean, seriously, I don't understand this. It's all just yapping now. At this point, it's just yapping, right? Did you also know? Did you know this? Let me do it. Let me play a little game with y'all. I'm play a little game with you. Make sure you hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm the real Boyce Watkins on Instagram, and on Twitter, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. That's Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. And put the number 1 because somebody stole my name on Twitter. So Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. Let me play a little game with you. Let me Google search Hollywood child sex rings. Let me Google search that. Now, let me see what the first thing that comes up. NBC News. Corey Feldman vows to expose Hollywood pedophile ring. Former child actor Corey Feldman has vowed to expose a ring of Hollywood pedophiles that he says has been tormenting young actors for decades. These are old, rich white men who are fucking children. If your child was in Hollywood, they will be trying to have sex with your child. In a YouTube video that has been viewed more than 630,000 times, Feldman said he's ready to identify at least 6 alleged abusers, including one who remains powerful today. Feldman has publicly spoken out about pedophilia in the past, calling it Hollywood's big secret. He also says he was molested. So there's a big sex ring, y'all, going on. It's been reported many, many times. I mean, Cosby has 60 people report him, 40 years after the allegations. Half of them were drug addicts. The other half were hanging out with him and visiting him every other week for years. But y'all gonna go investigate that like it's a state of emergency, like it's the most important crime. It's the crime of the century. But they got NBC. NBC is reporting, not Janice Dickerson, the drug addict, not Joe Blow down the street, not John Doe around the corner, but NBC, the national broadcasting company, is reporting to you. They are letting you know that there is a Hollywood sex ring. And this is not a sex ring from 50 years ago. This is not a bunch of 50-year-olds coming forward and saying I was molested in the 1960s. This is people saying that they're doing it right now to children right now. And you're giving that less urgency than you gave this stuff with Cosby that's unproven and older than most of the people who are watching this video. Many of the people watching this video right now were not even alive when these alleged incidents took place. How is it that you were not even alive when these incidents took place and that there is this thing called a statute of limitations, yet for some reason, all that goes out the window? There's only one explanation. There's only one way to explain why the rules have been changed. And that is because he is a Black man. And this is America. That's what they do in America. That's what they do. They get a Black person and they hold you to a standard that they don't hold anybody else. They tell you that your standard is here and everybody else's standard is down here. So certain people break the law and they see it as a misdemeanor. They see it as probation. They see it as, oh, well, he's a young man. I don't want to ruin his life. Or they say, oh, he's too old to go to prison. We can't put a 80-year-old in prison. Yeah, he might have lynched those Black people, but it would be cruel to put that old man in prison. That's what they say. That's what the judges say. They say, my God, it would just be cruel and unusual punishment. It would be torturous to put an old man in prison for something that happened in the 1950s. That's what they say. But when it came to Bill Cosby, they said, we do not care. And the reason they do not care is because he is a Black man. That's what it is. Not defending Cosby, not in any world, in any life saying that I think he's a good guy, certainly not defending sexual assault. Can't defend sexual assault. So make sure you do that. When you make your argument, make sure you're not defending rape. Can't defend rape, but you can defend justice. You can defend justice. You cannot defend rape, but you can defend somebody's right to a fair trial. You can defend that without defending the crime. That's what defense attorneys come from. Defense attorneys say, look, I'm not going to say that what this person did was right or wrong, or I'm not even going to say, in fact, I might believe that it's wrong. But as an attorney, my job is to make sure that they get the same liberties and rights that Americans are supposed to receive. They are innocent till proven guilty. They have the right to an attorney. They have a right to a jury of their peers. There must be certain procedures followed in order for that person to be convicted. If you violate the procedure, then they will let you go. They will let you go, even if they know, even if 1,000 people saw you commit that crime, they will let you go if they violate the procedure. It happens every day. It's happened all the time. Why was that not the case with Bill Cosby? Why? Well, it's not confusing if you are honest about the history of America. When you look at the history of America, just understand they've done that to Black men for about 400 years. They've done it for Black men to Black men for 400 years. I wrote a book about that topic a long time ago called What If George Bush Were a Black Man? What if George Bush were a Black man? And the reason I wrote that book in 2004 was because I said, if you look at the way George Bush lived his life, he broke the law on a regular basis. He was a funky alcoholic for most of his life. He got in all kinds of trouble when he was at Yale and beyond. He did things that literally have made him into a war criminal. This man was not a very hardworking person. He wasn't a very bright person. He did not make good decisions with his life. I said, it's crazy to me that he became president of the United States, because most dudes I know, most brothers I know, if they behaved the way George Bush behaved in his life, they will be dead or in prison. They will be dead or in prison. And why is that? Well, because when you're Black, you have a very thin margin of error. You have a very thin margin of error. So when you're a Black man, you can be in a room with 20 other people who break the same law that you broke. 20 people break the same law that you broke. They all get away. You're the one that goes to prison. And when you say, well, why am I going to prison when all these other people went to prison? They'll change the argument on you and say something stupid. Like they'll say, well, you don't agree that it was wrong for you to do what you did? What you did was wrong. And because it's wrong, you should go to prison. But that ain't the question. The question is not whether or not Bill Cosby did something wrong. That ain't the question. If that's the question you're answering, what you're doing is you're doing what the Donald Trumps do and what the racists do. You're avoiding the more important question. The more important question is not whether or not he did something right or wrong. The more important questions are, one, can you prove it? Two, did you follow the rules? And three, did you apply the same standard of justice that you apply to everybody else? I'm going to give you a list of some actors that are on a similar level to Bill Cosby. They're not quite there, but I'm gonna broaden the field a little bit because you're so unable. People are so unable to even answer that question when I ask them, name one prominent white celebrity of Bill Cosby's stature who's going to prison. They couldn't answer that question. They had no answer. They had no response. My biggest critics have no response to that. And so I'm going to make it easy for them. I'm going to give a range of white male actors in Hollywood. And I want you to ask yourself, if people came forward with allegations from 40 years ago with no proof, could they get all these guys sent to prison or any of these guys sent to prison? And some of them are criminals. Some of them we know broke the law. Some of them are out there doing all kinds of stuff. So let me go down the list right quick. Before I do that, please hit the like button, share button, subscribe button. If you are feeling anything that's being said here, it's very important that you take a second and you share this video because this is not the message that's being put out there. The message that's being put out there is the message of lies, the message of nonsense, the racism. It's all BS. It's beyond racially biased. It's just patently unfair. So I hope that you'll share the video. Also, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's drboycetv.com. That's drboycetv.com. That's where I go live. I can't go live everywhere because when I talk like this, they define it as hate speech or whatever, when really all of history, Black men have been punished for being honest and radical. So that's just the reality of it all. And I accept that. So here we go. All right. So here's some names. I want you to ask yourself, can any of these names, can you imagine any of these men going to prison for 3 to 10 years for unproven allegations made 30, 40 years ago? Tom Cruise, Mark Wahlberg, Brad Pitt. Can you imagine Brad Pitt going to prison for something that somebody said he did in 1975? Can you picture that? Is this even something you can even imagine? Bruce Willis, Matt Damon. Can you picture them saying that they were sending Matt Damon to prison over allegations from 40 years ago, even though there's no proof? Ben Affleck, Tom Hanks. Can you see them sending Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise or Mark Wahlberg or Brad Pitt or Bruce Willis to prison over unproven allegations that are 30 or 40 years old? Can you even imagine that? No, you can't. And let's go deeper. Let's talk about the white boys that we know really were criminals, really were getting into some shit. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., we know he's the bad boy of Hollywood. We know that he's been getting into stuff. We know he's been a drug addict most of his life. He probably still is. Ain't no telling. His son is now getting into shit. So you tell me a time where Robert Downey Jr. was led to pay at the same level that 81-year-old Bill Cosby is being asked to pay over something that was not proven. You show me. Kelsey Grammer. Y'all remember Kelsey Grammer? Remember Kelsey Grammer? Frasier, remember the little situation with Kelsey Grammer? Now, y'all might like him because he does those black shows. He understands the power of black women. He made that show Girlfriends. But you remember that? Remember him? I think he was arrested for this. I think he was arrested. Remember a while back, he had caught in a car. He had caught in a car with a girl. And let me see, a grand jury refused to indict him after he was found in a car with a girl. Let me see. Let me read this from, this is an old story from the New York Times. A Somerset County grand jury has refused to indict Kelsey Grammer, the star of the television series Frasier, on sexual assault charges based on a teenager's complaint that he had sex with her in a local hotel in 1993 when she was 15 years old. Now, this ain't 25 years later. This ain't 25 years later. This article was written in 1995. It was written in 1995. So 2 years earlier, he was caught. A teenager said this man had sex with me in a hotel, and he was 15, or she was 15. Kelsey Grammer, another one. Charlie Sheen. My God, Charlie Sheen was running around giving women AIDS. I mean, come on now. Really? Charlie Sheen has been a deranged human being since he's been public, since he's been a public figure. Charlie Sheen was wilding. No charges on Charlie Sheen. Now, if he were black, they'd be sending him to jail saying, well, you know it's wrong to run around giving people AIDS. That's bad. And if you're like, but wait, I'm black, so I mean, but why aren't you sending everybody else? Well, no, that's not the issue. Don't you worry about what we're doing with them. You need to worry about yourself and worry about what you're doing wrong. See, they do that same trick on your job. They do that on your job when they tell you when you're black and they tell you why you didn't get the promotion. What they do is they'll pull out your resume and they will find any little fault, any little thing that you didn't do perfect. They'll be like, well, you know, your score was an 8 here and it should have been a 10. And, you know, your writing test was a 92 and it should have been 100. And you know that you did have those 2 days that you missed work. And if you was a fool, then you'll fall for that stuff. If you are a fool, you believe that nonsense. So you'll sit there and say, yeah, boss, I know I shouldn't have got the promotion because I did miss them 2 days of work in 2016. And I know. And my writing is bad. And I got a 92. I should have got 100. And you'll fall for that. Like, you'll believe that. That's what they'll do. They'll nitpick every area to tell you why something's wrong with you. And that will explain why they didn't give you the promotion. But what you don't do is you're not asking the right question. The right question is not in what they would with mathematics. It's not what we would call an absolute question. It is what is called a relative question. Absolute means that you're looking at me in a vacuum by myself. You're looking at me all alone and pointing out all the flaws, all the areas where I'm not perfect. That's what you do. That's how you get a black person. You corner them and you look at them in a vacuum and you make them feel bad about themselves so they agree with you that they shouldn't have got the promotion. The right way to look at it is to look at it in a relative context where you say, okay, yeah, I know I got a 92 on the writing test. But Bill down the hall got an 88, and y'all promoted that motherfucker in a month. Yeah. Okay, I know I missed 2 days in 2016, but you know, Betty Sue leaves work every day an hour early so she can go smoke weed with her friends, and y'all ain't say nothing about that. See, what you do is you understand that the best defense is a good offense. Don't let them make you feel bad about yourself. You make them feel bad about themselves. Don't let them just shine a spotlight on your flaws. You shine a spotlight right back at them. That's exactly what I did. When I was at Syracuse University, I went through this. This was my experience. It was so great. It was so crazy. Such a great life lesson about the fact that white people ain't never going to stop being white. That's just what it is. I remember when they were trying to explain why, despite the fact that I was more well-known and more recognized for my work than any faculty member on the entire campus, damn near. I think there was one white guy who was up there, but in the black community, nobody's ever come close. In the whole history of Syracuse University campus, no faculty member has ever come close to having the same global impact in terms of financial literacy that I have. Many of y'all in here right now are my children. You, my sons and daughters, sisters, brothers, and little cousin now, because a lot of y'all are financially literate because of stuff I've taught you. Am I lying or am I telling the truth? Am I right or am I right? Tell me, holler if you hear me. Some of y'all own houses because of things I've taught you. Some of y'all have businesses because of things I've taught you. Some of y'all are teaching your children financial literacy because of things I've taught you, right? So nobody's ever come close to that. They can't even operate on that level. It's all good. So when I was at Syracuse, still on that plantation, still working for them, I went up for a promotion, and I was like, look, you know, I'm doing this work and I'm putting my PhD to work and it's really having an impact. You know, I think I deserve the promotion. And they were like, well, we looked here on your resume and you didn't do this right and you don't have that right. And this is a problem and this is an issue. Well, really, it all kind of came down to one simple fact, that I was black and I'm radically black. See, being black wasn't the crime in itself. Being black was not my crime. The crime was that I was black and radical. Now, if you a Negro, if you're playing ball and going along with the rules, you might have a shot. You might have a shot. If I could have been a white man in black skin, I think things would have worked out differently, I guess. But I was a black man who was really openly, vocally black, right? And so, because I felt like you have to make progress. You can't make progress without a little discomfort. So I had to make some people uncomfortable. It was all good. So anyway, so the thing was, I knew this, right? I knew that their reasoning for not wanting me there is because for the same reason that I wouldn't want me there if I was a white man. If I was a white man, I would not want to work right next to Boyce Watkins because he would get on my fucking nerves every damn day of the week. I literally annoyed the hell out of any white person who held on to their whiteness. I can understand why you don't like me. If I was you, I wouldn't like me either. Right. So I understood the game. I understood how it was played. But because I understood the game, I knew what was really happening beneath the surface. You were looking for technicalities to get me out of there because it was difficult to just dismiss me because I'd had an impact unlike anybody that you've ever seen in the last 50 years on that campus. Right. So here's the thing. Here's what I did, y'all. Here's the trick I pulled on them. And knocked them on their ass. And I'm not even speaking from a point of bitterness. Just be clear. I'm not mad at Syracuse. I want to send them a thank you card because leaving that campus was the best thing that ever happened to me. My life got so much better when I built my own and got to travel the world and got to get out here, really, really touch people. So I ain't even mad. I am thanking God every day that they didn't give me the promotion that I asked for, because if they had given me that and made it too easy for me, I'd probably be still sitting over there in a little office doing 1/1000th of what I'm doing today. So just be clear. It is not a bitter statement. It is an educational statement that I'm making right here. So here's what I did. I saw the game. I said, okay, I see what you're doing because I'm a mathematician. I'm strategic, analytical. I understand these things. I said, okay, so you're trying to make me feel bad about me by telling me all the areas where I'm less than perfect. But I knew it's very hard to be a perfect scholar, very difficult. You know, anybody, if you look at their resume long enough, you can find something wrong with it, especially in our field, because it's a very, very tough field. And I recognized this strategy because that was kind of what happened when I was in the 3rd and 4th grade. My white teachers were telling me that I wasn't as smart as the other kids, and I didn't have the same potential as the other kids. I wasn't college material, all this other nonsense that wasn't true. Clearly it wasn't true. I mean, I was a college professor, so obviously I was college material. But white supremacy makes racists are stupid people. So we know how that works. So here's what I did. Here's what I did that I thought was great. And this is what actually the thinking that I'm applying to the Bill Cosby situation. I said, okay, so what happened was I said, number one, you're not going to molest me in the dark. I'm not going to be like these little Catholic school kids that get molested and remain quiet because you threaten to hurt my family or whatever. I'm going to go hard. I'm not scared to get blackballed. I'm going to tell everybody on earth what you're trying to do to me. And because at this point, I don't care what happens. I don't care if I get fired and I got to live in a cardboard box. So I was very, very public about what they were doing to me because I knew that even if I didn't get the promotion, I figured I'd be okay. I was thinking about the black people behind me. I said, well, if it's harder for me or if they have to fight me, it'll make it easier for other people because they'll be glad. They'll be like, well, at least he's not Boyce Watkins, right? And that's true. That's what happened. The year after I left, they hired more black administrators and many faculty. They hired more of administrators, I know for sure, than they ever hired in the history of the school from what I understood, from what someone told me. Okay, so mission accomplished. The second thing I did was when the press was aware of what I was going through, when the press saw that there was this fight between a loudmouth black man and the university, well, of course, they were all on it. The Chronicle of Higher Education, talked about CNN, all these people were calling. And the first thing they always do, this is what I knew they were going to do, is they're reaching out to find out maybe he really isn't qualified. Maybe this Negro is screwed up. Maybe something is wrong with him. And I told you, I know I'm crazy. So that part, if you ask Art, if the box says, is he crazy, yes or no, I'm going to check yes for you. I know I'm crazy because I believe in this world. You got the crazy people are the ones who change the world. So I'm committed to being a crazy black man. I like that part. But then the part about being qualified, I said, I'm not going to play that game with you. So they would call me and they say, well, the university says that you only published in this journal, but didn't publish in that journal. And so I normally would have been like, well, no, but I have more solo author publications than anybody in the history of my department. So that's got to count for something. Or so-and-so got promotion with the same credentials, so I should have got the same promotion. But I didn't play that game. You know what I did? I said the best offense is, the best defense is a good offense. So what I did was I said, look, I told the journalists, I said, why don't we make this assumption? Why don't we assume that I'm totally unqualified? Why don't we assume that I don't deserve the promotion? I said, because between me and you, I'm making over $100,000 outside of this campus anyway. I really want to leave this job because I want to move to a bigger city anyway. And I already know I'm blackballed from my profession because of all the things that I've said. So I'm okay with moving on. I said, but what I want to do, I said, but let's play this game. I need you to do this for me. I'm willing to relinquish this idea that somehow I'm just magically unqualified. What I want you to do now is I need you to shine the light on them. And I need you to ask them this question. Why is it that if you go back 100 years in the history of this business school, not only did they not give me the promotion, they haven't promoted any Black person at any time, not one. I said, now, maybe you can make the assumption that I'm just not good enough. Okay, I'll live with that. I'll take that. But are you telling me that every single Black person who has ever applied for the job and ever worked here and every Black person on earth that they could have hired was unqualified? Do you understand how ridiculous you sound when you make the assumption that there's not one Black person on earth who's qualified to get this promotion? So which is more likely, that no Black person on earth is qualified to do this job, or that this school, which was clearly and undeniably built on a foundation of very clear racial bias, still is affected by this undiagnosed bias? This bias has not been cured. Maybe that's your answer. Maybe racism, my God. You mean white people could be racist? Oh, Lord, we didn't think about that, right? You mean a nation that had slavery for 250 years might possibly have a thing against Black people? Oh, somebody stop the presses on that shit. That's not possible. That's why I say that racist people are stupid. They're just dumb. That's just it. They're dumb. Their brain, like literally whatever is in the space of their brain, I bet if you open their skulls open, you're not going to find brain cells. You're going to find like some cotton candy or some shit. Because literally racist people are just dumb. Racism makes you stupid. And so people that analyze the Cosby case who say, oh, well, it has nothing to do with race. Some of them Black. Jamel Hill said that stuff. And they're just not smart people. They're not analytical. They're not in touch with how America operates. They don't understand the justice system. They don't have an inherent sense of fairness in terms of what's right according to the law, in terms of procedure. They're just dumb people. That's it. They're just not smart human beings. But it's okay. Racism made you stupid. Racism is a mental illness. You infected, motherfucker. Like, you are infected. Like, seriously, that's it. That's what it is. So, okay. I said a lot, and I cussed a lot. I always promise myself I'm not going to cuss. God damn it. Maybe I just need to give up and just accept the idea that I'm going to cuss. Anyway, I'm going to go do this. Make sure you hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button before you go. Also, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, you can go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. If you want to follow me on text message, you can text the word Boyce to 31996. Just text my name, Boyce, to 31996. Last but not least, if you want to find, I have recommendations of books that your children might want to read. We also have lots of other, things, financial flashcards, apparel, stuff like that in the store. Feel free to stop by drboycebooks.com. That's drboycebooks.com. Claudia says you're from Louisville, so you're bound to always cuss. I know, man. I know. I think that might be the Louisville Cardinal in me. That ain't never going to leave. I'm a Cardinal for life. But I'm cheering for the Wildcats right now, by the way, because they have a great football team. I ain't never seen a Kentucky football team this good, and I'm actually quite happy for them. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. It was real. Again, make sure you don't let anybody go around telling you on the internet that Dr. Boyce Watkins is defending Bill Cosby, because that's just not true. I'm defending truth. I'm defending justice. I'm defending fairness. That's what I'm defending. I ain't defending Bill Cosby. This ain't got nothing to do with Bill Cosby. This has to do with white people's racism and the differences in terms of how they deal with Black people who do things wrong versus how they deal with white people who do things wrong. It's important that in the midst of all this chaos, that you got somebody out here speaking some fucking common sense. We ain't got nobody that believes in good old fashioned common sense. Everybody's caught up on this emotional bullshit, and it's just really stupid. It's really making all of us look dumb. So I'm going, guys. Have a good day, and I love you, and I'll see you later. And I see Michi X from Fly Nubian Queen just popped in. She's on Fly Nubian Queen TV every night at 8 o'clock. That's flynubianqueentv.com. That's flynubianqueentv.com. So you should check out flynubianqueentv.com. That's a network for melanated sisters who have a unique way of thinking, who have their own minds, not mainstream minds, but the right stream minds, right? So ultimately, that's an awesome platform. I support them. I love you, Michi. Love you, sister. I see Asha Castleberry. Again, Asha is an interesting person because Asha is a national security expert, and don't nobody want to hear her talk about politics or national security. But if she was running her mouth, acting all ratchet on Desperate Housewives or whatever that show is, or Real Housewives, everybody would pay attention to that. And I think it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. She's also a veteran, if I'm not mistaken. And so thank you for your service, sister. I think sisters like her need to be acknowledged, and we don't need to just always pay attention to the ratchet ass, people on TV. We need to pay attention to the women and the men who have something to say that actually makes sense. So that's what you're going to get from me at Dr. Boyce TV is common sense. That's what I believe in, and that's what I do. And I'm not going to stop doing it. I don't care what nobody says. So y'all have a good day. I love you, and I'll see you guys soon. Be good.